Welcome, ADs here. In this video, I want to go through some stuff to help simplify the torso and not think about anatomy so much. Like these examples I have here, these are some ones I've been doing. You can see there's not much indication of anatomy. It's just like the animation flower sack. I think people tend to get bogged down by the anatomy, where all the muscles are and all that kind of stuff, and then your torsos don't end up looking very solid. For me, my torso isn't solid. It just ruins the whole drawing. Right, for me, my figure drawings pretty much always start from the torso. Got to make sure I get that looking good, and then I know the rest of my figure will also look good. Obviously, there are cases where you don't have to draw from the torso with like foreshortened poses. I think that's something you can worry about after you've gone good at drawing from the torso. Well, of course, there's different schools of, different approaches to drawing, but I happen to like to use the torso, so that's what I'm going to demonstrate here. I know Michael Hampton likes to start from the head. I prefer not to do that. As you can see it in this figure here, right? I did the simple torso underneath, and then I drew over it in blue on the outside, right? Like all this curve here, and all this, and then this. Those are just indications of the anatomy, like I put on top after. Right, once I got this basic shape that you can see in black or grey, if I have that nicely set up, a nice shape set up, then I can add the anatomy on top as a second step. Okay, in most cases what you'll see is I'm either using just a basic shape like that. No, you'll see where I got this from. Or you'll see me do this, where you've got one over here, and then you got 1, 2, 3. That will happen a lot. Another thing that I will try and encourage is to work on your line economy. So, no doing, doing this stuff. Okay, and then you start erasing, and then you go back in and try and fix your line. Wrong color. Try to fix your line, and then you erase again because you don't like it, and then you draw again, and then you erase, and then the whole line just looks. It just doesn't look good at all. There's no fluid. There's no fluid line anymore. It's gone. I mean, it wasn't there to begin with because I was drawing like this. But yeah, if you're doing all of your lines where you're drawing using small marks and then you're erasing your marks, it's not going to look good. Right, so what I'll try and do is be as efficient as I can with my line economy. Okay, so you can see I did a pretty good job with some of these. So this side is just one stroke. Okay, and I might, undo a bunch of times before I move on. And then this side is about 1, 2, 3, and then this was just one stroke, and then that was one stroke, and that's my torso. Right? I don't need to do all this stuff and erase, and then try again, and then erase. No need. So, yeah, so what I'll do is we'll draw some basic torsos. Right, trying to keep anatomy to a minimum. Because the anatomy can come on afterwards, like I've shown here. But that's after. That's step 2. Okay, so where did I get this from? The one and only the Western, right? Yeah, so you can see the 1-2 shape, purple and blue. And then you can see in the corner, down here, you can see how on top of that the anatomy goes. The anatomical shapes and design go on top of that. But firstly comes the basic shape, the 1-2 shape. And besides the 1-2 shape, we'll also be using this right here in the middle, where the torso just separated into 3 bits. Which is, well, as far as I know, this person learnt from Will Weston, so that's probably why it looks so similar to his work. So yeah, we're using this idea. Alright, and we'll try to keep our line economy as efficient as possible. I mean, I know it's hard, so you just keep practicing. Yeah, the 1, 2, 3. There's so many times I did this, like 1, and then 1, 2, 3. And so for the pelvis, if we're looking, so in this case, right, we're seeing underneath the pelvis, right? So I like to think of that as a cylinder, or modified cylinder. So that's why I did this here. If that's too confusing, I think it's fine to just think of it as a box on the bottom. Right, that can help you. But I wouldn't draw a box for the top, just leave that. If you can, stick with the cylinder. I think that's just a bit more organic than a box. Another thing I'll try and encourage you to do is, well, what you'll see me do, is to find the angle of the shoulders and then find the angle of the pelvis. I mean, yeah, here's another one I did where I drew on top a bit. It's just so I could show it in the video. You can see underneath the grey, the black lines, just show this 1, 2 shape on the side. But you can think it's a 1, 2, 3 as well. For me, it just depends on the pose. Sometimes I like using the 1, 2. Well, most cases I like to use 1, 2, but sometimes the 1, 2, 3 might look a bit better. As in the other post I showed you on Instagram earlier. Yeah, angle of the shoulders, and then angle of the hips is like that. I'll get those and then that'll help me as well. But I think it'll be best to just watch me do it. So as always, we'll be using, well, one thing I should mention as well, some other stuff. So this 1, 2, 3 stuff, right? Or the 1, 2 stuff. So the 1, 2, the separation is at the rib cage. Okay. Same for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, the 1, 2. The division is at the rib cage, and then for the 1, 2, 3, the division is also at the rib cage, but then we also divide the pelvis as well. That's the main difference, I suppose. And also, another thing you want to try and do is draw the armhole, or the arm insertion, like a action figure sort of thing. Right, like I've done here. I don't really have a reference for the size. I think if you've watched me do it, maybe you'll get an idea. Or if you try to draw the arm on top, and if it looks too big, then you know, okay, gotta adjust it. But yeah, I mean, don't make them too small or just too big. I mean, if it looks like a good enough size, that's fine. I wouldn't get too worried about it, but do try and draw the armhole. And for the hip, you can do a similar thing. You can draw a circle as well in perspective to help you, well, define the perspective of the hips. Right, like I've done here. So I'm saying this is the side, 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 and then this is the underside. So we're looking up. Yeah, and so what I will do is, yeah, I'll start with the torso, keep it as simple as possible, and then I will, in the future, make some videos on legs and arms and stuff like that, keeping it simple as well. Anything else? I think that's it. Yeah, hopefully by the end of this video you'll want to try this and trying to get too bogged down with anatomy as you start your drawing. Unless you're really advanced, then you can just draw the shapes right from the get-go. But anyways, let's start. So as usual, I'll be using Pose Maniacs, and these are my settings. I don't think it matters too much, but we'll put that to the side. Find some space and start drawing. Okay, so we'll start here. Alright, so first thing is to find the angle of the shoulders. Alright, and then I guess yeah, I know what I'll do is I feel like the model is, there's a big arch on the front of the body. So maybe I'll try and use that. Looks good. And on the other side, I'll do the same thing, but not all the way. Remember, I'll try to do the 1, 2, 3. Alright. Yeah, so you'll see lots of variations of this. Right, so right now it's quite flat. We can just add a center line. Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. Make sure you add center lines for all of these, because you need to prove to yourself that you understand the perspective of the torso. Right, maybe it doesn't have to be perfect exactly, but just get something in there. And so for the pelvis, I like to draw this triangle as well. That helps define the perspective. Again, it's like, if it's not perfect, but it's close enough, it's good for me. It is good enough for me. So I've got that, and then I can draw the side of the hips as well. Okay, and then I'll draw a line for the ribcage like that. And then maybe I'll just do that for the hips. Yeah, and I've kind of got my setup right there. And I'll fill in the armholes. Yeah, I think if you're coming from boxes, it's probably a good place to start. Or wherever you are, to be honest. Keeping it simple is the way to go, in my opinion. If you can start simply, you'll kind of get your mind into thinking how to draw from imagination as well. Because trying to think of a pose and all the muscles involved all at the same time, it's just not very easy to do, is it? Yeah, so for the armholes, again, I'm thinking of cylinders here, so make sure you know how to draw circles in perspective. Yeah, there isn't much else to do, right? So I've got my setup. How much anatomy did I really use? Right, and if I wanted to draw the neck, I like doing that. I like doing this. Obviously, you have to adjust it in perspective as well. But yeah, that's it. In the future, we'll look into the arms. You've been keeping those simple, like I did. Yeah. Look at these legs. Just took that from a Western as well. Really simple. Yeah, anatomy is not really, it's going to save the day for you. I think doing this stuff is going to be much better for you. So again, the angle of the torso, the shoulders, is going to be quite hard, right? It's really foreshortened. But I can see the back, or back a bit. So I'll just do that maybe. So I'm really thinking the 1, 2, 3 here. I'm just trying to divide it into the 1, 2, 3. Lines aren't too efficient, but yeah, the shape should do. I can draw my armhole, sort of indicating that, this arm is reaching forward, whereas the other arm is back. Already I should put it there. No, I think I'll leave it there. Exaggerate it a bit as well. And then you just barely see the spine on the top, so I'll leave that line there. And I'll do that. And then we'll draw the side of the hips. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's probably a hard one, because it isn't very clear what the line of the shoulder is doing. Yeah, I guess the biggest rhythm I see is the back. So I guess that's why I chose to have that as my longest line, right? This long line that I made over here. And then from there I was just thinking those two shapes. The 1, 2, 3. Yeah, well, that's a pretty tough one. But yeah, the one thing to remember is it's useful knowing different approaches to drawing, because some situations might be, might be easier to use one method when the pose is like this, and so having different ways that you know how to draw will be very useful. Okay, so this one is going to be easier. So angle of the shoulders, it's going up like that. And then the angle of the hips is doing that. But I'll draw that on my way down. So I think here, in that Will Weston post that I showed earlier, I normally like to do that when the pose is, I guess, quite head on, like this. As in, it's not like a 3/4 angle or something. So I'll probably do that here. So I'll roughly go down to the ribs. Okay, so I'll do that. And then on this side. And don't worry if your proportions aren't perfect, like here mine aren't. Just get the general shape correct. Because remember, this is a setup, so that you can draw on top of it afterwards. And if something's wrong, you can always do it again, because this stage isn't supposed to take you very long at all. And of course, center line. Of course, I can't really draw a center line. I can draw up here, but just barely see it. So, yeah, the more lines you add, the more dimensional it gets, right? And then that's the whole point of taking this sort of approach. So, like, if I want to draw that leg, I'll do that. I mean, it's just a shape. And then on this side, or you can do all that. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's not what we want today. Yeah, another thing you can do is just take the reference and just draw on top of it to figure out what the angle, what the shoulders and the hips are, and then work from there. Let's try another same pose. Okay, so we've got the angle. It's pretty hard actually. Let's see. I'm just getting a nice arch on the back. If you're still not getting this, you could just draw along with me. I'm trying to keep my lines as efficient as possible, so it shouldn't be too hard to just follow these lines that I'm doing. Okay, we've got a shape there. So let's draw a center line first. This is going to be the most helpful. Right, and you can draw the underwear shape, or the lower torso, the lower ab shape that you can see there at the bottom. Over here. That's also something you can use to indicate the perspective. And then you can draw your armhole, or the action figure armhole. You can also draw the insertion for the neck as well, if you want. Or maybe you should. If you study the rib cage, you'll know like the rib cage is at an angle, or the opening is at an angle. I think I might have exaggerated it a bit here, but right, something along those lines, and then the neck goes in there. But I think I've exaggerated it, but you can use that to help you find your angle. Okay, next one. All right. Angle of his shoulders, something like that. It's also pretty straight. Let's add some curve. Yeah, this really is like a flower sack, especially since I've done animation. It's actually really cool. Okay, so cylinder on the bottom. Again, if you want to draw boxes, I think just drawing a cylinder is way faster. Or assuming that you practice them. Try not to get too hung up on the actual proportions or whatever. Or getting it to look exactly perfect. You can do that. That's not really what I try and teach here. But I mean, the way I see it is, you know, we're trying to improve what you see. And so if you make a change and it looks a lot better than what the extra reference is doing, then, you know, go for it. Of course, it's going to be harder if you haven't practiced, if you haven't got as much practice with the figure drawing. But you got to start somewhere. So maybe today it's modifying the pose just slightly. Like the arm is here, but you put the arm there. I don't know, could be anything. And then down the road, you're drawing quite comfortably from imagination. Alright, it got a bit messy down here. That's okay. We'll try another one. Angle of the shoulders. Seen an arch. Maybe I'll go for this side first. I think maybe I'll use the 1-2. This one. Remember, you can experiment. Or just find out which one works better for you. Doesn't look good. So this one has overlap, doesn't it? Or maybe I'll do the 1, 2, 3. You know the way, it's fine. Yeah, I should have done that. Right, and then once you've got everything in place, you start drawing the legs, add your anatomy and whatnot. Angle shoulders, big long arch to the front, and the hips are going up like this. Alright, got the 1, 2, 3 going. Armhole. Alright, and the good thing about this is I've already set myself up for a good shape design. I've got simple on this side and then complex on this side. So it's also good shape design training as well. Sometimes, yeah, awkward poses on Pose Maniacs. So if the pose is awkward, just move on to something else. Alright, so angle of the shoulders, big arch to the front. I'll draw that. 1, 2, 3. I'll draw the side of the hips, armhole, center line. Not all references are made equal. But yeah, not all, yeah. Your references, you're not always going to find good references. You will find a lot of awkward ones. Just avoid those. I mean, in the first way, they don't look good anyway. So, I guess it just turns into a challenge for you to make it look good. And to make it look good, you probably have to change it in some way. And if you already can't do that, and it's just super difficult. So yeah, use good reference. A lot of these shapes are turning out to be the same. I'll draw the front. Start 1, 2, 3 again. The angle of the pelvis is quite slight. We can put it in there, and then the center line you can see coming out from there. But yeah, there's basically a template for side view stuff, because I can't really draw the angle of the shoulders. So yeah, make sure you have different ways of drawing the figure. Or just learn from multiple people, and then you can pick and choose depending on the figure you have. Another good thing about finding the angle of the shoulders is you can help you exaggerate as well. You can make the angle steeper than it actually is in the reference. So 1, 2, 3. Let's try this one. Not one I'd recommend starting with, but let's see. Okay, angle of the shoulders, we've got that tilt. Yeah, I think in this case, I would just want to use the 1, 2. And notice how I'm drawing the middle with an arch, like that, rather than like this. Right, and it's basically me indicating that the bottom part is a cylinder that would be pointing this way, right, with the minor axis, like that. So these are like small ways you can indicate form. That's it really. I imagine I'd see a bit of this side. It's pretty hard though, can't really see much. Yeah, the lines you add afterwards make a big difference onto what kind of illusion you're selling. Alright, so here I'm seeing angle of shoulders. And then, yeah, I'm seeing an arch this way, so I'll use that to be efficient with my lines. And then we're seeing the underside of the pelvis. Okay, so again, pretty flat shape, but this helps already. And then we can draw the side of the pelvis. And also my center line. Always draw your center lines. Unless you're so good, you don't need it. As in, perspective is a lot more natural to you. I'll leave that. That line's enough. Even if I want to do that. Line economy. Get rid of it. That one. That line there does enough to show the perspective. Yeah, plenty of room to have fun with shapes if you start doing this. Yeah, I think I'll just keep it as 1 line. Right, isn't it amazing how many times we've had this 1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2, 3. And then the only difference is the form lines that I put inside the shape. That gives me information about the perspective. Center line. Or you can literally make like key points, like angle of shoulders, center line, and just make sure you do those. And if you think of line economy in mind, it's just going to make your drawings look better on one level. You know, because there's lots of things that make your drawing look good. And line economy is just one of those things. Alright. Like I've said before, if too much is covered up, probably not good choice as reference if you're trying to study the torso, that is. So yeah, make sure you pick something that's not going to give you too much trouble. Yeah, draw a center line. One, 2, 3. Not very clean this time, but You can see it, right? Oh, 1, 2, 3. Right, even though you might not be seeing a nice long line on the figure, just put it in there anyway. Looks better. Before you're looking at it looks too straight, add some curve. Alright, angle of the shoulders, pretty tight. Okay, again, I'll mention again. It doesn't matter if your line is up too long, just cut it afterwards, you know, to save you line efficiency or economy. And then of course I'm doing this big line, so gotta use it. It's probably getting boring now. Seeing me do this 1, 2, 3 over and over again. Okay, center line. I really like simplifying. Really does help me draw better poses. Angle of shoulders. So I guess angle of shoulders has helped me more in general. Angle of hips as well. Also something to think about. But yeah, as you see me do this curve, right? I mentioned the cylinder. That's what it is, right? I'm just trying to indicate the cylinder. I'm not drawing the whole cylinder. I'm roughly trying to match it. If it doesn't match it, you know, there's other things I can use as well. Like indicate the side of the hips by just doing this arch. Right, and obviously the rest of the arch would be like that. So it would be an ellipse in perspective. And just a few things to indicate the perspective. If it does the job, no need to do anything more. Right, so the center line, can't really see it. The rest at the front of the body. On the back, we just barely see it, so make sure we indicate that. And of course, don't forget your armhole. Right, the armhole is basically like a cylinder between the shoulders. Maybe I'll use the 1, 2 here. And then I've got, so the shoulders are doing that, the hips are doing that. So at the bottom, I will do that. And you can exaggerate more if you like, of course. Okay, so it's pretty flat. Add some dimension by drawing a center line. We are looking at it from the bottom, so we'll be able to see the underside of the pelvis somewhat. So that's why I've drawn that line there. And then remember, I'll draw my arc like this and not like this, because that gives me the wrong information about this. If I, you know, think about the cylinders. Armhole, armhole. And that's, yep, pretty much done. You can kind of see the side of the hips, the pelvis on the side. So you can indicate that as well. Yeah, I think if you can just try and get close to doing something like this, I think it will improve your confidence with drawing. There's less to think about, because now you're training yourself to look beyond the anatomy for the first stage, or the complex anatomy, and just try and simplify. And if you've seen my what was it called? My art journey video that I made recently, you'll see how I was studying anatomy pretty early on. But if you look at my drawings, it didn't seem to help too much. Yeah, so that's why I'm trying to help other people not make the same mistake I did and think anatomy is gonna save your work, and to focus more on the form and shape. Of course, study anatomy, but have a good base, some solid structure to work with that you can then draw on top of. Let's make the armhole a bit more visible. So use the 1-2 for this. And then I'll probably make some changes, I think. Well, I'll just play around with the shape if I was to redo this. Before moving on, you can find lots of torso shapes on Will Weston's Instagram. We have, variations. Narrow shoulders, wide hips, or just slightly wider, or maybe the shoulders are wider. There's also different shapes. It's good for character design and stuff like that. Well, this one is going to be tough. So for this kind of pose, I guess I have to think of it. Well, I think of form, but also overlapping shapes is going to be quite important, because the angle of the shoulders isn't going to do much for me. Yeah, it doesn't look too pretty. There's overlapping here of two shapes. And as it is, It doesn't look like you can tell much compared to the reference, but as you add more information, it becomes clearer. Yeah, I'll probably work my way with something like that. This looks interesting. Yeah, notice how I'm like doing this. Yes, that comes back to the flower sack. Really helpful. But yeah, I guess whether you draw it upside down, the figure upside down, or whatever, the basic shape doesn't change too much, or doesn't change at all. Alright, it's only once you start adding more information that you can make a sense of it. So yeah, I hope this can change the way you look at figures. Like the way, like the back, right? I mean, for this, it's quite straight. What did I do? I said, okay, I'm gonna just take the back as one line, and that's my back. And then the other side, got this. You know, you got the abdomen, which is fleshy. Then you got the hips, and you know, got the angle of the shoulders, angle of the hips, and I'm done. Now I'm gonna add my dimension by putting form lines and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, like I said, just draw with me. Copy what I do. And that's how I learn. I copy until it just becomes natural to me. Also, do draw overs. Go over the figure. Draw angle of the shoulders, angle of the hips, and then see if you can find a long line to connect those two. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, okay, and then you add your form lines to, you know, indicate what the perspective is doing. You know, sometimes I'm not really sure if I can see the, well, you can definitely see some of the underside of the hips, the pelvis. It's like, how much should I indicate? Because I don't think this is quite correct. I think I've exaggerated my long line too much, and so I've got to compensate. I can always indicate this side of the hips, and I've always got my center line to help me out. Right, so I'm not making an exact copy, we're just drawing a nice torso base, and then we can draw, and then we can do whatever we want after on top of it. You know, I do these videos and I watch them back and I'm like, how did I not get that, or how did I not see that, or something. Yeah, I mean, even if it's off a bit, it's usually it's enough to get you started, so that's also another good thing. I feel like I'm just drawing the same pose. It's like the ones I'm coming across right now, they're like really awkward, or similar to ones that I've already done before. Hips, angle, shoulders, a bit exaggerated, I think. And I can see a nice long line at the front. And then 1, 2, 3. Add dimension using your center line. Can just barely see that triangle back there. Armhole. Don't know how many I've done so far. Maybe I'll do 1 more? 2 more? We'll see. So yeah, so we got ankle shoulders. I think maybe I'll do the 1, 2 this time. Or you might be wondering, okay, why do you use the 1, 2? I think I mentioned earlier. If the torso is in like a close to a front view, or if there's not much like twisting or bending that I can see, and I can't really find a long line, and I guess I could here, but it's quite subtle. And I'd have to, if I did this, it would be a bit of an exaggeration. So just to calm down on the exaggeration a bit, I can use that 1, 2 shape. But really, I'd encourage you to just experiment, and that will help you answer the question better. And yeah, I do want to run some classes, and I want to teach in this way. So, yeah, really I'm just preparing a structure. Oops. Yeah, I just really like these shapes. Keeping things simple. So, right angle of shoulders. And of course, you can see that nice long curve. So we'll use that. And then I got my 1, 2, 3. Armhole. Center line. Right, so see how we've got center line starts here and then disappears at the bottom because we can't see it. So that's how you can, because right now it's flat, right? You don't really know what's going on. Well, my center line will clear up all of that and make it all clear. I can do my divisions, ribcage, side. Alright. Of course, probably could have exaggerated it even more. But yeah, remember, you can always just draw on top of it, or modify the shapes that you use. Like when I did this line here, done it further down or something. I would have experimented with that, perhaps. Alright, so I will stop there. I hope this was useful, and yeah, I hope you try it. The 1, 2, 3. You can see how many times it showed up. Obviously it isn't always there. Sometimes we do the 1, 2, where we've got lines going in and then out. That's another option as well. I just go back and forth between whatever I feel is gonna work best for that pose. You can always try again. So if the first approach doesn't work, try the next approach. But yeah, that's it. You want me to explain anything further? I can always make updated videos. If something I said is not clear. And of course, make sure you check out Weston's Instagram and see how he does it. Right, everything I'm doing here is pretty much the same approach. And in the future, well, if this video is liked, I will show you how to use simple arms and legs, and then hopefully you can just keep practicing that and get good at drawing very nice simple figures of just a good grounding on shape design as your base. Yeah. Yeah, so look at the notes. Also check out this person, I forgot their name, but the Instagram is Diego. He has a bunch of notes on his page just like this, lots of exaggerated shapes, and he shows you how the step you can take from 2D shape and how you can add form lines to give it dimension and that sort of thing. I think it's fantastic, honestly, especially if you want to get into figure invention. Doing this sort of thing is invaluable. But yeah, just to recap, find the angle of the shoulders, find the angle of the hips. You can see I always start with the shoulders. That you see, that's just the order that I do things in. Draw your armholes and make sure you draw your center line. Okay, all your figures. Don't forget to do those very important. So it's just good training. And you know, you can also indicate the side of the hips and try using the 1, 2, 3 torso and the 1, 2 torso. See which one you like, see one, or just see what the benefits of each are. If it's just too much, you know, just rewind the video and just copy all the stuff that I did. And if you can, try and you know, keep your lines minimal, right? Try and use as few lines as possible, just to train yourself for line economy training, basically. But if you can't, if it's too much, or if it's just if that's too much on top of everything else that I've taught, you know, you can always think about it at a later stage. But yeah, that is all. Let me know what you think of this approach, whether there isn't too much anatomy, rather than the anatomy video I made, where, you know, I was drawing all the muscles on top. But this is a very good base, and you can draw all the stuff on top if you want, very easily. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.